Greetings of peace. My name is Ra Imhotep, broadcasting on behalf of 13signsastrology.com. Doing this video on a topic that's definitely peculiar, but you know me. Doing this video on the topic of why it is important to build alliances with extraterrestrial entities. Why it's important to build alliances with extraterrestrial entities and beings. Now, I first want to start off and say that I know a lot of people don't believe that extraterrestrials exist, and you know, they believe that we're here alone. And when we say here, most people don't even realize that when we even use the term "we're here alone," you're speaking on dimensions that you've never even experienced. Because when you say here, you're speaking of here, meaning in space and time. But even in here, there are other dimensions. So we are not here alone, because most of the extraterrestrial life, you guys are looking out for extraterrestrial life, and most of the extraterrestrial life is in the dimensions. And I talked about this in another video when I talk about going into the dimensions. So we have to go into the dimensions if we are to deal with and experience extraterrestrial life. And what's happening with the Earth right now is that it's a shift, and the Earth is going into the dimensions. The Earth is going into the fourth dimension. It's shifting right now. And this is important because as we go through this shift, we are going to be interfacing with and encountering extraterrestrial beings, because most extraterrestrials exist on the fourth, fifth, and even higher dimensions. And when we were put into the third dimension, for those of you that aren't really up on when I talk about the quarantine or whatever, when we were put into the third dimension, that was basically us being put into what's called a quarantine, where our vibration was trapped into a certain environment, and we were here in the third dimension, and we never experienced fourth dimensional entities. Yeah, we experienced different creatures that are from this planet, or that were indigenous, or not indigenous, but we experienced different creatures that were living on this planet before humans or whatever. Like, we experienced the Bigfoots, the reptilians, and stuff like that. But I'm talking about now we're going to be interfacing with fourth dimensional beings. We're talking really soon or whatever, different types of aliens that are coming to the planet. And when you go into the fourth dimension, it's just like if you were in the third dimension, right? You say, for instance, you were a criminal, you were a gangster, you're in the third dimension, right? In order for you to be like a good criminal, in order for you to be a good criminal, you have to work with and make allies with different criminals. In order for you to be an effective criminal, you have to network with the other criminals or whatever to be effective. And the reason why you want to do this is because they probably have ties and links to other people that you want to be tied into. So that's why those particular criminals that are connected with other criminals, is usually a lot harder for them to lose their empires and things of that nature, is because they're connected and have made allies with other criminals. Now, I'm not telling you to be a criminal, I'm just using that as an example. And criminals tend to, and I'm not talking about petty criminals you hear. I'm not talking about your people that are kicking in doors, but I'm talking about like your white collar criminals. Like, criminals are very intelligent, like your real live criminals, like your white collar criminals, people that are doing insurance scams and setting up corporations. See, these are the real crooks and the real criminals. These people out here that are robbing people and selling drugs and stuff like that, they're just doing this stuff to survive and eat, because that's the only way that they know. And a lot of them just don't want to go outside of their little box of consciousness or whatever. So these are your criminals. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as like on a big level, it's your white collar criminals and people that's doing frauds with stocks, like Bernie Madoff, and you know, people that are doing stuff like that. Like, these are your criminals or whatever, as far as on a corporate level, like your corporate criminals, people that are setting up fictitious governments and stuff like that. These are your criminals. So, but when I say criminals, I know what I'm talking about. And when I say criminals are organized, I'm speaking of those particular criminals. I'm not talking about petty thieves. Criminals are organized and they build alliances with other criminals. Now, they don't necessarily share total intelligence with other criminal networks, but they build alliances, and are cool with certain criminal networks. It's just like the mob families, like the Italian families. Yeah, each family does its own thing, but it's still an alliance and a network, you know, that they have or whatever together. So when you work with aliens, it's the same way in the fourth dimension. You have to, if you are to be successful in the fourth dimension, to be able to explore the fourth dimension and to be able to learn the fourth dimension and to be able to just overall exist in the fourth dimension, you will have to build an alliance with the extraterrestrial entities, the extraterrestrial communities. You will have to do this in order for you to be successful in the fourth dimension. The reason why is because, like, a lot of these alien groups, like, they know a lot more about the universe than we do. Like, they know how to get to Andromeda really quick. Like, the Andromedans, if you build a network with the Andromedans, they can get to Andromeda really quick from the Earth. You see, in different particular extraterrestrials have mastered different types of technology and do things slightly different. So when you start building alliances with extraterrestrials, it's just like if you were to build alliances with, like, Africans, Asians, Europeans, your South Americans. It's just like if you were to build alliances with all these different types of people in different regions, you will become very gifted in just what's going on in the earth, and very knowledgeable, not just gifted, but very knowledgeable and gifted in what's going on the earth, and being able to express what's going on in the earth if you were connected with people from all around the earth or whatever. Like, this will help you to be more intellectual, actually, believe it or not. You know, like, your intellect is based on the alliances that you build with other people. So it's the same way with working with different aliens or whatever. Like, once you finally make it to the fourth dimension, you have to learn how to build alliances with certain ET entities in order for you to learn the fourth dimension and to become successful in the fourth dimension. Now, you can work with animal spirits and stuff like that on the earth, but I'm talking about when you start talking about intergalactic travel and all of that type of stuff, you will have to work with extraterrestrial entities to learn these things. And different extraterrestrials have different areas of mastery and science and stuff like that that they've mastered. Each one is different. Now, from my research or whatever, the Andromedans are a group of extraterrestrials that are like your ant type of creatures. They're extraterrestrials. They're 7 feet tall, and they're like ant creatures. And this is your warrior class of extraterrestrials. And from my understanding, the Andromedans have mastered military. They have a very pretty large stock of military supply. They have a really large stock of military supply, and this is your warrior class on the fourth dimension or whatever, as far as the Andromedans. Like, those are your Andromedans. And from my understanding, one of the Pleiadian stars has joined up with the Andromedans now. So, like, a lot of your Pleiadians are working with the Andromedans, and the Andromedan Council. See, there's different councils or whatever, and it's important that you know this so that you can not only navigate in the fourth dimension, so that you will know that there's structure and order even in the fourth dimension. There's structure and order even there. So the Andromedans have a council, and they basically are pretty much the dominant council when it comes to between the Pleiadians and the Andromedans. The Pleiadians are pretty much up under the Andromedans or whatever. And a lot of people don't realize that yet, because the Andromedans have not even made themselves known yet. The Andromedans have not even made themselves known. So that's a separate class. Then you got the beings that are from Sirius, or what most people call the Anunnaki or whatever. These are actually beings from Sirius. So these are really the Sirians. Like, when you talk about Anunnaki, really that's just a term that means any type of being that came from the heavens to the earth. So the Andromedans can be Anunnaki because that's just a title. That's just like saying he's a space cadet. It's the same thing. It's basically like giving him a title saying he's a space cadet. That's what Anunnaki is one who came from the heavens to the earth. So, but when you read about the Anunnaki stories, that's really talking about the Sirians. And the Sirians, there's different classes of Sirians. Some of the Sirians deal with technology and metal and precious metals and things like that, and technology on that level. And then there's other groups of Sirians that are totally telepathic, that totally levitate, that totally can appear anywhere that they want to appear, and they are not even in bodies, and they can appear any way that they want to appear, even that. There's the beings on Sirius that are living like that. So when you study beings from Sirius and build an alliance with them, you get more into learning how to go into higher dimensions or whatever, because the Sirians are existing on like 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th dimension, all the way up to 13th dimensions or whatever. Like that's the Sirians. The Sirians are going like pretty high up as far as their dimensional levels of experience. Now, to understand dimensions, you have to understand it like this. Like each particular being, like the beings on the 5th dimension, they're trying to work their way up to the 6th dimension. The beings on the 6th dimension, they're trying to work their way up to the 7th dimension. So you have to understand, like when you get into that other realm or whatever, all of these beings are still trying to move up Jacob's ladder, are still trying to work their way up as well. So that's pretty much how it works, like with the dimensions and things like that. And so like when you, pretty much what I'm saying is that when you decide to study and work with different extraterrestrial groups, like the Andromedans or the Pleiadians, or the beings from Orion, or the beings from Zeta Reticuli, or the beings from Sirius, just like any of these beings or whatever, even the beings that are going into higher dimensions, like the dark matter beings. When you decide to build up alliances with these beings, you're doing it so that you can learn about certain dimensions. That's why you're doing it. Like that's the reason why one would want to work with ETs. Now, I'm not telling you to go work with them, but I'm explaining to you why a person would seek out to even want to work with ETs. So that's basically what you're doing or whatever. And the reason why you want to work with various beings from different star constellations is because different beings from different star constellations have mastered different aspects of the universe. So like you want to work with the Sirians if you want to get way deeper, more into the spirituals type of stuff. You want to work with the Andromedans if you're more so concerned with military and politics and all of that. You want to get involved with the Andromedans. I mean, you have spiritualists and politicians even in the 4th dimensions on up or whatever. So I mean, it's the same stuff going on the 4th dimension, just on a more organized fashion as it is here in the 3rd dimension, because we know as above so below, and as within so without. So we are without in comparison to the 4th dimension, which is within. And the deeper you go within, the higher you go in dimensions. So you go deeper in, you go higher in dimensions. So really, it's not about higher and lower, but I say higher because your mind, when you think about 3, 4, 5, 6, in your mind, you're thinking higher. So I have to explain it to you in those terms, but really it's more about going inner, more and more inner. You actually become less and less dense as you go deeper into the dimensions. That's pretty much how it works or whatever. You learn these things by building alliances with different ETs. You build alliances with different ETs by first learning how to work rituals in and of themselves. See, you can't build alliances with ETs if you don't know how to work rituals. If you haven't been trained formally into the occult and how to work rituals and things like that. So that's basically like the steps on how you work with different extraterrestrial beings and why one would want to work with different extraterrestrial beings, and and pretty much what's just going on also too, like what's going on with extraterrestrial politics and just what's going on right now in the 4th dimension or whatever. I mean, it's a lot going on. I'm going to be putting out a lot of information coming from the Andromedans. That's who I've been dealing with lately as far as the Andromedans, and I want to put out a lot of information coming directly from the Andromedans or whatever about some things that's going on or whatever. So got a lot coming on the ET level and what's going on in the ET world, but I just wanted to kind of bring people up to date on why they should even want to work with ETs and what they would get out of it. So I hope this helps, and until we meet again, I will leave you in peace.